Hello everyone, welcome to Conversations from ACFI Annual Conclave in Delhi. I am Rajarshi Chatterjee from Stat Trade Times, and right now with me I have Glyn Hughes, Director General of TIACA. Thank you for joining us, Glyn.
Great, thank you, and it's always a pleasure to speak with you.
And right now you are in New Delhi for the ACFI Annual Conclave where TIACA signed an MOU with ACFI. So what role do you see this partnership is playing in advancing India's air cargo transformation and leading India towards becoming a major air cargo hub?
Well, that's a great question, and I think we really see two hopeful outcomes from signing this MOU. First of all, I have to pay huge respects and credit to what ACFI have done as an organization over the last few years. They've really built up a strong membership base across the air cargo community, which reflects a very similar base to ours. We look at the global air cargo community. ACFI has a very strong Indian-based membership from across the community. And it's how they use that membership. They use that membership to approach the government to actually present solutions, not just going there saying we have problems. And I think this is the reason why we're very keen to sign this agreement and build a partnership for twofold. One, we want to learn from the Indian experience. You know, India is at the heart of growth over the next few years. The manufacturing sector is looking to grow significantly. We see the airport development is growing significantly. We see the major airlines here are obviously growing significantly. So we want to learn globally what's happening here. But secondly, we also want to support that growth by perhaps bringing some of the best practice examples that we can bring from our membership across the world to help India as it seeks to forge new solutions for problems that they will encounter.
Amazing. And being an Indian, I would definitely like to see India gaining more prominence in the global air cargo sector. So there's also one thing in that process that, according to you, what is that missing element in that puzzle that if India can achieve that element, then they can become a bigger hub?
That's another great question. And I think when you look at what are the successful ingredients for, an air cargo industry to achieve its full objectives and its full ambitions, it needs to start with a motivated and a government with a vision. Clearly you have that here. You then need to have an industry that's aligned around working with the government to achieve that vision. You have that here. Then you need world-class businesses. You definitely have that here. And you need world-class innovators and leaders. You absolutely have that here in India. So all the ingredients are here. I think, as we've already heard during the conclave and as other discussions off the floor have shown, there are some challenges. There are still some regulatory hurdles that need to be overcome. We heard this morning that there needs to be a consistent application across the country. We've heard this morning there needs to be some approach and tackles to things like transshipments to make the environment more conducive for efficiency, to allow transshipment business to grow here. We also need to look at the airport capabilities in terms of the skill sets. They're in abundance today, but as the volumes double and maybe treble, we might have to look then more at off-airport facilities like AFSs to help make the industry flow more efficiently. So all the ingredients are there, which is what's most encouraging. It's just now fine-tuning, highlighting those topics that need to be tackled, and then collectively coming up with solutions.
And you have always advocated or spoken about empowering the next generation of industry leaders. So how do you think associations like TIACA and ACFI work together to build talent pipelines that prioritize innovation as well as sustainability and global best practices?
That's a great question. And strange or not, I was actually once the next generation. 50 years ago, I was that wave. And I kind of look back and I think, well, what was it that allowed me to achieve what I wanted to achieve? And it was because the environment was right, was conducive, and there were some individuals that really helped move me along my journey. So we, as TIACA, want to see if we can play a similar role. So first and foremost, we've now introduced 2 new awards. One is called the Rising Star Award, and it actually helps shine a spotlight on all the great young talent that's in this industry. So we ask organizations to nominate people who they see really making a difference under the age of 35, and then we've just recently had the first edition of that in Hong Kong. We also have what we call our Inspirational Leader Award, another new one, which is decided by the next generation. So that allows everybody to see what it is that they see in somebody as a good mentor. And we hope that that will also create a more of a conducive environment for others to be that mentor for the next generation. We also have our Sustainability Awards, which actually try and shine a spotlight on the successful innovators of this industry who have come up with solutions that help the sustainability agenda. And we're doing lots of other initiatives. We're working with organizations about global aviation and aerospace skills task force, how we can create the right environment to bring in that next generation, mentorship programs. So we're doing as much as we can. We also have a program where under 30s can come to our events free of charge as a way of trying to enhance their network building.
We'll get to the sustainability part, but before that, as we are talking about the next generation talent over here, everyone, almost everyone that I talk to in this air cargo industry, they say that getting the right talent is a problem in this sector. So, according to you, what is the solution and how is TIACA approaching that?
Well, I mean, I would disagree slightly with that, because if you look around this event and every other event, there are some amazing next generation leaders already here. So the question is, how do we get more of them? So yes, I would agree that sometimes we don't have enough, but we do have some great ones. So for me, it's actually taking the great young leaders that we've got in the industry today and using them as an example to shine a light on that next generation. We need to go out to the universities. We need to go out to the technical schools. We need to go out to the high schools. We need to go out to the elementary schools. We need to get into the hearts and minds of the next generation, but the prior to them joining the workforce, to actually show them what this great industry can do. The air cargo industry doesn't just move boxes around from A to B. It changes lives. It moves emotions. It moves life-saving drugs. It moves the latest high-tech gadgets, etc. It moves flowers to enable Mother's Day to be a success. It moves jewelry so engagements can happen. It moves electrical components so people can have cars, they can have electrical generators, they can have cameras. It's all because of air cargo. So we've got to take these great stories, not to mention all the great work from humanitarian relief missions when disaster strikes, for example, and we've got to get those stories out there, because once you build that emotional connectivity, people will want to join this industry.
Yeah, so we need to be more visible and be in the places where the talents are.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And even few years back, sustainability was a buzzword. Right now, it is no longer a buzzword, it's more like a mandatory thing. And TIACA has long been an advocate, has been advocating for sustainability. So, what are some of the key areas where you believe sustainable partnerships can have the biggest impact on making air cargo operations more greener and more resilient, as well as being efficient?
Right, a great question, and you're absolutely correct. Sustainability is not just a nice word to talk about. It's got to be a fundamental way of organizations operate today. We've seen over the last few years that the word sustainability is getting higher up within procurement documents as organizations go out to tender, whether or not they're a producer, manufacturer, industry partner. They want to be working with people who are committed to a sustainable agenda. Now, a sustainable agenda is not just the environment, that's an important focus, but it's very much aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 SDGs. We link those together as the impact on the people, the impact on the planet, and therefore leading to global prosperity. So TIACA runs an annual survey, sustainability survey, which we then put the results in our insights report, and it highlights several really key factors. First and foremost, to your earlier first question, sustainability is on the agendas of the CEO of most organizations. Second, there's a lot of great work being done. If you take single-use plastic, for example, about 90% of the organizations have a commitment to or in the process of removing single-use plastic from their operations and going to more of a biodegradable product, which is a wonderful commitment to the future. Electrification of vehicles, airlines' commitment to SAF purchase, to equipment for fleet renewal, smart buildings that are coming in much greater prevalence. But what we're also seeing, which is a little bit concerning, is there is a bit of a divide. The larger companies around the world have got committed resources and dedicated teams to produce global sustainability reports. Of course, it's more challenging in the smaller and medium-sized organizations. So TIACA introduced our Blue Sky program, which is a way of helping those smaller and medium-sized organizations undertake an assessment through an independent assessor of how they compare to, as it were, some standard sustainability criteria. This allows them twofold: recognize where they're doing well, but also focus on the areas that need to improve upon. So we hope this is our way as well of helping those other organizations at least be able to put some credentials across when organizations they're working with saying, what are you doing for sustainability? So it's a great topic, it's an important topic, and it's one that we will continue to place at the top of our agenda.
But what do you think is the role of partnerships, be it any kind of partnerships, in improving air cargo sustainability?
Great. Well, partnerships to me is the notion exactly that. It's a partnership. It's not a one-way dialogue, it's a mutual dialogue. So I think partners should challenge each other. I think they should say, look, our partnership is going to be successful if it's based on mutual benefits, mutual wins, but mutual respect. And if I feel that something's important, let's take your earlier question of bringing in the next generation. I'd like to see my partners committed to bringing in the next generation, to creating a better working environment, to create opportunities, to create the training, to attract, retain, develop my team, to put in programs that will actually create me as a good employer, to be recognized as a good employer, but also as a good community member. I want to work with the local community. And I think when you see partnerships based on common understanding, common respect, and common admiration, those are the ones that are most successful.
Right. And as global trade patterns shift, with all the disruptions happening and emerging markets like India coming up into prominence, how important is it for global bodies like TIACA to collaborate more actively with national industry forums like ACFI?
It's crucial. TIACA, we're a relatively small association. We have 4 full-time employees, 3 of them based in Miami and myself based in Switzerland. But we also have, what we're really pleased about in the last few years is we've introduced regional representatives. So we have Mahendra here in India, we have Eric in Latin America, and we have Maz in the Middle East. We also now recognize the value and the critical importance of border compliance. So we have Gordon as an expert in border facilitation who's based in Brussels. So we have to try and leverage the expertise globally because this industry is different. Every corner of this earth has different challenges and different obstacles to overcome. For us to be a truly global association, we need to listen to global problems and we need to be able to support the community wherever those problems arise. So I'm really pleased with the vision of the TIACA board, what they've challenged us to do, what they want us to do, and what we are hopefully doing to their satisfaction, which is to be the global association representing the entire air cargo industry.
Superb. And coming to a very personal side of Glyn, I would like to ask you if you could share any personal memory related to air cargo.
Wow. That's a fascinating question. Honestly, I think it was probably, and I'm going back now 40 years, when I had my very first trip. I started working for British Caledonia as an airline in the accounts department. And I really wasn't aware of what went on at the airport. And I think it was the very first time I did a cargo facility tour. And that was the very first time it impressed upon me that we weren't just moving square boxes. We were moving things that impact people's lives. And that to me is what I'd love to bring every 5, 6, 7-year-old child into a cargo facility to see what's moving around the world, because that's when you spark that interest. So for me, that's probably to this day remained as one of my strongest memories.
Amazing. So definitely we are looking forward to a future where we are, as air cargo as an industry, is going to create an impact in our everyday lives, and not just moving boxes, but in a more efficient and sustainable way.
Excellent. Thank you very much for great questions. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.